Are we evolving from Homo Sapien to Homo Luminous? Although our past understanding of how humans evolved is ever-changing and some old assumptions are falling away, where are we evolving to? Hi, I'm Carly Rieger. And in case you don't know, Homo sapien is the name given to the species to which scientists say all modern humans belong. It's one of several species grouped under the genus Homo, but it is the only one that is not extinct. Yet there is a theory that we are evolving from a carbon-based structure, the Homo sapien, to a crystalline-based structure that some have called the Homo Luminous. And it's where our brains don't get bigger, but start to activate latent abilities. And these new bodies take us through to the higher densities and dimensions. And the reason I bring this up is because it's a theme in the novel Heliotropus, and several people have asked me about it, but it's also a popular topic amongst people interested in the evolution of humans, especially in the times we are in now. So according to prophecies of, say, the Inca, the Hopi, the Maya, and many others, we're at a turning point in human history. It's a time of chaos and turmoil and upheaval in which a new species of human will give birth to itself. So it's like a quantum leap from Homo sapien to Homo luminous, as one way of referring to it. And this might be a good light at the end of the tunnel to focus on, as it has been challenging for many of us. So what's a Homo luminous person like in comparison to a Homo sapien? Some suggest that it involves the ability to perceive much more of the world we live in. For example, you may have heard that some species can see light within frequencies outside the human visible spectrum, like bees and other insects can see ultraviolet light, which helps them find nectar in flowers. Dogs can smell things that humans can't. In other words, our perceptions are limited as a Homo sapien and less limited as a Homo luminous. We will perceive with our senses and extrasensory perceptions things like light vibration that we didn't see before, visuals, sounds, smells, colors, tastes, feelings that make up the physical world at a much higher level or more refined level or broader level, like seeing colors you've never seen before or seeing etheric forms like the human aura or the aura around a plant. Now, some people already see those kinds of things or sense those kind of things, like they see ghosts, or they sense their presence, or have a sixth sense that something about taking that flight is not a good idea, or that a particular person is not who they say they are, or that something is not right about their liver, or their heart, or their lungs, for example. Or they can see imbalances in someone else's body, and they could even ask the body what it needs in order to heal. So it will be like far more people have these abilities than just a fringe few. It's also the idea that you can change the blueprint of your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual body so that it's free of, say, genes you inherited from your parents and the medical issues they may bring you, or you can unchain yourself from limiting emotional, mental, spiritual, mind stories you've inherited or came into this life with, about who you are and what you can do and your worth and all those things that limit us. So the ramifications are huge when you think about it. If everyone can read auras, for example, they could tell if someone was lying, and the whole criminal justice system would change, right? Or if everyone could see the spirit of a person, of a plant, an animal, or the earth itself, and how we're all connected, there would be far less abuse in the world. So that is the promise of the evolution towards Homo luminous. And it's not supposed to be something that happens over millions of years, but rather that all of humanity might have the choice to evolve to that within, say, a generation. It would be a biological quantum leap within our own lifetime. But then the physical, emotional, spiritual traits we acquire will be passed on to our children and our children's children. Now, quantum physics tells us that the human body has a luminous matrix or energy field that manifests the form and the health of the body, for example. So a Homo Luminous would have access to the biological blueprint of that luminous matrix, and so they could learn how to heal disease and create extraordinary states of health, mental clarity, far more of an ability to craft and shape their own personal destiny, for example. This luminous matrix is like the software that gives instructions to the DNA, which is like the hardware that manufactures the body. And you may have heard the adage that faith can move mountains, and maybe you've even experienced that your strong belief in something helped bring it about. Believe without doubt, and it comes about. Well, the Homo Luminous can actually see how their thoughts and emotions create the reality around them, so they are very careful what they think and feel. They wouldn't say worry about money because it's like creating what they don't want, but instead would imagine feeling what it was like to have all the resources they need to live a fulfilling life, knowing it's the feeling state that pulls the atoms from the ethers and puts them into the more dense physical form. And lest we think we have to wait until some momentous turn of events, what if we all have the blueprint of the Homo Luminous already? And when we choose with clear intent, we can manifest it. And then we may see that we've been there before, and that all these skills we just forgotten, so they come back online much more easily. And this change, I would say, comes in sync with changes in the Earth's energy grid, like shifts in electromagnetism around the globe that are being observed. The Earth moving through a new part of the galaxy known as the photon belt that changes, for example, the Schumann resonance that scientists can pick up on instruments, all of which may very well be activating these higher properties of human DNA. So when faced with dark days, I think it helps to develop some small daily habits to help make this evolutionary leap. And, sometimes it's hard to do that in the face of several challenges around you, but I want to give some daily life examples to ground this concept and make it practical. So here are 3 common mistakes and how to avoid them when on the path to shifting from a Homo Sapien level of evolution to the Homo Luminous. So in the news, we're hearing about the Great Reset on many levels, not just financial, but healthcare, social, political structures of the world are all changing. There seems to be many agendas at play. Some of them seem good, some of them seem not so good, depending on your values and your perspective. However, there's clearly massive change going on that will require that we all do a mental reset. This is really a form of opening the mind, which then opens the emotions, body, spirit for great transformation. We often have to start at the mind because the mind is often what blocks successful change. So here are a few mistakes that can stop you from doing a successful mental reset and reinvention of your work and your life and your world around you so that you can truly thrive in this new kind of world that is emerging. Now, I've made all these mistakes, and so have many of my clients and colleagues and friends. So if you recognize yourself here, no worries. They are common human behaviors. And if you don't make these mistakes, then that's a good sign you're going to be moving forward quickly and successfully. So mistake number 1, and really the biggest one, is focusing on what you don't want. Most people are often clear on what they don't want when challenges are going on, but they aren't really clear about what they want instead. So, for example, many people who lead others find that people come to them with a problem and just want to stay stuck on the problem. People's productivity is down since the lockdowns, for example, and then they go into vast detail about why it's a problem and why it's so hard to solve. Now, of course, it does help to thoroughly explore the problem to help find a solution, but many people in a leadership role find that when they want to steer the conversation towards a solution, people just don't want to go there. They have more things they need to complain about And then time runs out and they still haven't solved the problem. So I've trained several of my clients to do this habit instead. When employees or subcontractors or anyone you're leading comes to you with complaints, I suggest simply ask them, what is the result you want to create? Come back to me when you have the answer to that question. And once they did that, the person also knew how they were going to get there. Oh, I want people to feel more productive, supported, and resilient, even though we're in lockdown. And all of a sudden, they are brainstorming like crazy on how that could happen. And they just pick the best idea and move forward. It's a strange but powerful phenomenon. And if we could see a person's brain scan, we would see that they went from the survival brain trigger cycle, where a very small part of their brain is operating when they're in complaint mode, to the whole brain. The neocortex is included, where their problem-solving abilities reside, just by being asked that question, what is the result you want to create? So ask yourself that question too. So this one practice has changed business effectiveness dramatically. It also works at home. If your spouse or kids come to you with problems etched across their face, and as I said, you can also do it with yourself to solve your own problems quickly, as we can all find ourselves grumbling about life's issues and staying in a negative state instead of moving into a solutions-oriented state of mind. So that's a business or work environment example, but what about the world stage? There's mostly negative news, whether it's mainstream or alternative news, and you don't hear that many people talking about how we want our lives to look moving forward as a global population. It really helps to find people who are talking about sustainable, practical solutions to the financial crisis, the environment, the healthcare, the education, everything we're dealing with right now. Everything is going to need to be upgraded right now. And so this is a time for creative self-starters to see and take action on new solutions rather than sitting around complaining and waiting until someone else comes up with a great idea. So to that end, what are you passionate about? What kind of world do you want to live in? Where are your skills, talents, experiences, and connections? And maybe your area of passion has nothing to do actually with your skills, talents, or experience, and that's okay. Now is a great time in history to actually make a leap into a whole other area, because we're all beginners here. A lot of what's going on now we have no precedent for. And if you read the biographies of some of the greatest inventors, you'll find often that they had nothing to do with that area of endeavor most of their life. They just leapt from one area of expertise to another and brought a whole new perspective to it because they were new to it. They were looking at it with a beginner's mind. So that brings us to the second most common mistake, which is to stay stuck in terms of what's possible. Now is the time to let yourself dream, to think outside the box, because we're moving into a time in history when if you try to look back on the past for what's possible, it's not going to help you moving forward. Unfortunately, many of us were schooled to stop thinking outside the box, to stop imagining, to stop thinking for ourselves. But we were that way when we were younger. It's actually a natural human tendency to blue sky the possibilities. So you just need to retrain your mind in that ability. And a simple way to do that is to think of something you've always dreamed of creating, and then create a huge long list of all the ways you could make it happen. Even if those ideas are silly, impractical, downright strange, mundane, or totally bad. You have to get all those ideas out of the way first until you really start thinking in new ways. Of course, it does help to get other people with different perspectives helping you to do the brainstorm. Now, a big rule is not to edit any of your ideas until the brainstorming process is over. In other words, you can't say this to yourself, nor can anyone else who's brainstorming with you say something like, well, that idea will never work, or that's silly, or even roll their eyes. Because, why? Because that shuts down creativity. It puts people into the survival brain, worried about other people's approval, and then you don't get the great ideas. So it's a complete blue sky of anything and everything that's possible from a variety of perspectives on your own or with a group. Then, once you've exhausted all possible ideas, then you can reread the list and see what pops out as a practical possibility in the moment. And what if you don't even know how you want to contribute in the world moving forward? Well, think of it this way. I'm sure you've had times in your life where you said to yourself, what if the world looked like this? And you really let your imagination roam on that. For example, I didn't like a lot of the stories in fiction, movies, and TV that were about the future. They mostly seemed negative, like an Armageddon kind of future where everybody lived in this negative reality. And sure, often a hero comes along and saves people, but not before everyone goes through hell. And I believe that what you focus on grows, and stories are a huge way to program the collective human consciousness for good or for bad. So why not have stories about an amazing future where people are living in prosperity, getting along with each other, where the earth is cleaned up, where people get to explore careers they've always dreamed of having, where relationships are easy to form and maintain, where people's health is excellent. So I actually wrote a novel about that, about the world I wanted to see. It's coming out soon. I'll keep you posted. I have a colleague who worked in the financial industry and became disheartened by the corruption in his sector of the industry. So he's been working as a consultant to help different communities around the world develop different kinds of barter systems and monetary exchange systems that are fair, because that's what he always wanted to do. So he's just out there, even if it's just on the side of his desk doing it part-time, because it brings him alive. It makes him happy and on purpose. And that's true anytime you focus on what your heart really desires. And so that's really important. So think about that for yourself. A client of mine worked in electrical engineering and always was fascinated by free energy devices. So finally started her own business trying to find funding for inventors of free energy devices. And it's put her in touch with all kinds of really interesting inventors and funders and supporters in that arena. And it makes her happy just to do it. And a school teacher friend of mine left the school system and created experiential learning programs for students who didn't do very well in conventional learning environments, and just loves it. Another client worked for years in toxic work environments where people were overworked, overstressed, underpaid, and where interpersonal politics ground everyone down. Now she's an international expert on workplace wellness. So you might be working on something right now that is helping bring in this renaissance in human evolution that I believe is coming. If not, feel free to check out something I offer for people called the Explore Your Passion Worksheet. It's an effective way to discover how you may want to serve. And also, if you're already out there doing something, you might want to do it to help reinvent or to pivot or to make yourself even more relevant to the world that's coming. So you'll see the link in the show notes, but you can also just go to mindstoryacademy.com/free and you'll see it there as a downloadable worksheet. So this is a fun creative process to find or further clarify a focus for your vision, how you want to contribute to the world. And it's much easier to build quickly if you focus on a certain solution for a certain type of person. So, everyone always tells you to niche, get a deeper clarity on who, what, where, when, why. And why do they do that? Well, think about it. A health expert who helps people lose weight is up against the entire market of people trying to help others lose weight. It's the most crowded market in the world. Someone who coaches women over 50 to lose weight through intermittent fasting is going to find it much easier to market herself. People want to feel like you're an expert who can help someone just like them. And it's also much easier to get referrals from others when you're that specific. People go, oh yeah, I know someone over 50 trying to lose weight, and here, let me give you their email address. And then, of course, you can join groups where those kinds of people with those kinds of interests hang out. So during the Explore Your Passions process, you brainstorm on discovering your passion and then find this sweet spot of your unique qualities, your main skill sets, what excites you, and then you explore which communities would most benefit from your expertise by exploring, say, what hurts them right now, what are their problems, what's changing for those communities, and how your expertise can benefit those specific communities. So it's basically combining all that with what the marketplace is now looking for. Now that's a complex process if you try to do it all by yourself in a linear way. So this way you brainstorm anything and everything to get past that inner editor that often comes up, that kiboshes your ideas as soon as you think of something. And after you've done the big brainstorm, then you narrow it down to a few specific areas and one specific community. And then by the end of the process, you have created this expertise mission statement. And whether you go out on your own with your own business or subcontract to someone or get a job with someone, it's really easier for you to get traction if you have this expertise mission statement in mind. And it only takes about 20 to 30 minutes and has entirely changed the life of many people. So do check it out. Now, a third mistake that causes people to not make the great mental reset we may all need to go through soon is an unwillingness to face the fact that what you counted on, what you thought was true, what felt stable to you is now gone. Now, many things are going to be going away, and we don't even know what they all are just yet, but I'm sure this has happened to you at some time in your life. Here's a few examples from even a few years ago. I had a client who always wanted to be a famous singer-songwriter, and he worked his way up, got gigs, got producers, sold songs, but soon found that what he imagined this life would be like and what it actually was like, two very different things. The whole commercial life of being a musical artist sucked the life force energy right out of him. The corruption, the drugs, the mean-spirited competition, the underhanded things that people did, it literally broke his heart. So at one point, he had to sit down with the part of himself that had had this dream since he was a kid and face the fact that he was wrong, or at least the way he was choosing to go after his career was wrong. And that meant, looking at all the hard work, the ways he'd sacrificed, the relationships he'd built, the hardships he'd faced, all led to nothing that he really wanted to participate in. And that required great vulnerability on his part, great humility, going home with his tail between his legs and saying that he just couldn't hack it in that world, and having to face a future where he didn't know what to do next. It's a very uncomfortable place to be, and if you've lived a few decades, you've probably faced something like this in your life at least once. It's like those dreams you have when you're young and naive and you focus all your life force energy there and you sacrifice and you work hard and you tell everybody what you're going to do, and then it just doesn't work out. Either you don't like what it's really like or you just can't make it happen. And it doesn't just happen in careers, it happens in marriages, it happens in your educational focus. It can happen, if you decide, I'm going to take a year off and sail around the world. I had a colleague who always dreamed about sailing around the world. When he actually did it, it was not what he thought. He couldn't wait to get home. And I've since had 2 clients who had to face the very real fact that they'd made a bad mistake in choosing to be a lawyer. and both found it very difficult to let go of the money, the reputation, all the sacrifices, and to face the unknown. Well, one of those clients finally chose to do that, to leave it all behind, face the unknown, and is now in a very fulfilling career, very happy she made the move. The other one is still being a lawyer and is still miserable. So again, if you're a lawyer, you might love it, but for these two people, it just really wasn't the right fit. So what roles and structures and relationships or situations do you find yourself in now that maybe were hard won, involved lots of time, money, sacrifice, struggle, but that really aren't right moving forward? Remember, there is no security in holding on to something that isn't right for you. The natural laws of entropy will pull it away from you if it's not right, so you might as well do it for yourself proactively. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe something like this has happened to you. I had a client who made it to the top of her company in sales. She was the manager of all the salespeople. She'd done really well. She had all the prestige, and she loved being in the company, but came to a time in life when she really just wanted to go out on her own and start her own company, but she was afraid of change, as many of us are. It's a big transition, right? So subconsciously, she started sabotaging her role. She stopped showing up on time. She just did the minimum to get by. She let important contracts just kind of fall by the wayside. And she was angry at herself for acting like that and beat herself up daily. And one day, her boss brought her into the office and gave her one last chance to get back on track. And she tried to pull herself up by the bootstraps and really get focused. But the weeks that followed, all kinds of things fell apart even more, much to her chagrin. So she got fired, and she went into this tailspin of despair. So after a year of feeling sorry for herself and humiliated and disenfranchised from everything she thought was important to her, she decided to let herself dream again, and she remembered that she always wanted to start her own business. And as soon as she got that underway, even just deciding to get that underway, she got all this energy back, and then she thought about what she'd gone through and realized that she had arranged for herself at the subconscious level to get fired so that she could be free of it. So if you don't want to go through that level of negativity in the letting go process, you can just decide proactively to take action and do it. So if you enjoyed listening to this and want to get a free copy of the Explore Your Passion worksheet, just go to goldenagetimeline.com/free. It's the free tab, and you'll see it there as a downloadable free worksheet. It's an effective way to discover how you want to serve, what role you might want to take on, how to reinvent what you offer. And you'll also see the link to that in the show notes. And if you want to get the novel Heliotropus that explores these concepts in an exciting page-turning adventure format, it's a fantasy sci-fi that's won 4 awards and has been a bestseller in time travel fiction. You can get the paperback on Amazon, or you can go to goldenagetimeline.com/book, and you can get the ebook, and you can get it, credit or debit card or PayPal, but you can also use all manner of cryptocurrencies now to get it. So you'll see that link in the show notes. You can check it out. So that's it for now. Do hit like, share, and subscribe if you want to help others find this content and to hear about other episodes coming up. And until next time, thank you so much for listening.